My husband and I had a fierce argument. In my anger, I told him I was going to my sister's to cool down. I got in the car intending to do just that, but as I drove past the math teacher's house, something compelled me to stop. I parked, walked to his door, and knocked. 22 years, that's how long my husband and I were married. We have two children, one 15 and the other recently turned 18. To all appearances, we had a happy life, or so I thought. Looking back, I never imagined I'd do what I did or share it with anyone, but here I am. I'm human, with my own desires. My husband and I were together long before our marriage, 5 years of dating before we wed. We built a good family, one anyone would envy. But lately, something had been missing. My husband had retired from construction. I handled everything related to our children's schooling, parent-teacher conferences, assignments, everything. He'd take them fishing or on outings, but stayed out of the logistical details of their lives. It began one day when my youngest son's school called about a minor issue. I went, resolved it, and as I left, I saw him, the math teacher. He was magnetic, handsome in a way that sparked a feeling I hadn't experienced in years. For days, I couldn't get him out of my head. The next time I was at the school, I summoned the courage to speak with him. He was kind, approachable, and as fate would have it, lived nearby. Initially, it felt innocent. We chatted occasionally. He must have sensed my interest, and I believe he enjoyed the attention. Our conversations grew more frequent. One day, we went for coffee. That day was transformative. We laughed, shared stories, and for the first time in years, I felt alive, young again. My husband and I hadn't shared such moments in a long time. Then came the night that changed everything. My husband and I had a heated argument. It was terrible. In my anger, I told him I was going to my sister's. I drove, intending to do so, but passing the teacher's house, I stopped. I parked, approached his door, and knocked. I didn't even know why I was doing it. He opened the door, surprised, but invited me in. We talked for hours. I told him about the fight. He shared about his divorce and children who lived in another city. At some point, I kissed him. He hesitated, clearly shocked, but then kissed me back. What followed was perfect. That night, I betrayed my husband and my family. The next morning, he suggested breakfast, and I agreed. Before that, we showered together. It happened again, this time without hesitation, without guilt. Later, when I returned home, the house was quiet. My children were at school, and my husband was out. The silence was crushing. I vowed never to repeat it, but 5 days later, at dinner with my family, my phone buzzed. It was him. My heart raced. No one noticed the message, but I couldn't resist. The next day, I made an excuse to meet him again. It became a routine, a secret life I couldn't stop. It felt so good, and with each meeting, the guilt lessened until it all came crashing down. My husband had spoken with my brother-in-law. During their conversation, he casually mentioned our argument and my supposed stay at my sister's. That's when the first lie unraveled. My husband confronted me that night. He asked where I'd been. I said my sister's, but he'd already spoken to her. I was trapped. I admitted everything, told him who it was with. I'll never forget the look on his face. My husband, born and raised in this neighborhood, whose family was well respected, was devastated. Word spread quickly. The teacher, terrified of the backlash, left the city within 24 hours. He'd promised to stand by me, but he ran. I begged for forgiveness, but he filed for divorce. He said he couldn't remain married to me after what I'd done. The fallout continued. My children refused to live with me. My oldest won't speak to me. My youngest, while occasionally checking in, keeps his distance. They stayed with their father. 5 months later, I remarried. The man I'm with now is good, but it's not the same. I miss my family, my real husband, my children, and the life I destroyed. And now, here I am, telling you my story. I lost everything because I couldn't control myself. No matter how hard I try to move forward, I can't escape the shadow of what I've done. This story is real and shows life's complexities. If it resonated with you, like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Every story has two sides, and there's much to say about choices, trust, and the secrets we carry.